Hello friends, it's Denise with Black Ribbon Studio, and this is my very first annual WIP parade. For those of you who are new, welcome. And if you don't know what a WIP is, it is works in progress. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a really short recap of 2020, and then I will move into the WIPs that I am carrying on into 2021, and I'll give you a little bit of a background on each WIP if there's anything about that to share. So I hope you have a project handy. We're going to go ahead and get started. So I started off 2020 with crochet, and I had done my very first yarn dyeing project, and at that time I had started back into cross stitch. And as I look back at my notes, I didn't really keep very detailed notes in the beginning, but I got better as the year progressed. I returned to cross stitch. I've been cross stitching since the 80s and 90s, and took a very long break from it. But I returned to cross stitch basically due to two major reasons. One was a graphghan, a crocheted graphghan that I was doing, and the pattern for that was very, very similar to a cross stitch pattern. And so the entire time I was working on that, I was thinking, I really want to cross stitch. So then, to solidify my decision to return to cross stitch, someone created a Facebook group called Santa's Little Stitchers. And if I can remember, I'll put a link to that Facebook group below. So I thought at that time, wow, this is great, because this will give me a focus for my stitching, rather than feeling as if I'm just stitching all the things and willy-nilly. I'll just concentrate on Christmas stitching. Well, that was a very good jumping off point, although I did not stick to the only stitching for Christmas theme. I do intend to continue to stitch Christmas all year round, but as you'll see from my WIPs, I have not stuck to the only stitching Christmas theme at all. So I'm just going to put on my readers here and just give you a little synopsis of what went on. Excuse me. All total, I completed 14 things in 2020. I had 14 finishes. There were 10 crocheted items and 4 cross stitch items. 3 of the cross stitch items were completely FFO'd, and they were 3 ornaments, which are now hanging still on my tree, which I have not yet taken down. Don't judge me. And I cross-stitched a really cute gingerbread man, which has not yet been FFO'd, and that is something that I definitely plan to do this year. So now we can move on into the WIPs that I'm bringing into 2021 with me. And what I have here is going to go from my oldest WIP to my newest WIP, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So my oldest WIP is called Snow Pals, and it's a Mary Englebright pattern, And those of you who've been with me for a while know that I simply adore Mary Englebright. And it's from this book, Mary Englebright Christmas Ideas, which I have shown you guys in the past. And let me see if I can flip to the photo. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. And I have already decided that I'm definitely going to change the words at the bottom because I don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to have to rechart that. And honestly, guys, I thought at the beginning of the year, I thought this is going to be great. I'll just stitch on this all year and have it done by Christmas. But little did I know the things that I would get into. And so here's where I am on that. And so normally I attempt to stitch white last so that it doesn't get dirty, but you know, I wash all of my pieces anyway because I use DMC floss, which is very washable. And so I'm going to change that so that I can go ahead and get some of this white done. And I've just kind of basically started to change my mindset on how to actually stitch some pieces. So that is Snow Pals, and that is my oldest WIP. All right, moving forward. And oh, and I started that in February. And it's on Ada. My next WIP I started in April, and I call it This House is a Mess, and you guys probably saw this in my last video because I did recently put some stitches in, and I started this for no other reason than I absolutely loved it. And this is on 14 count black Ada, which I love. And here it is so far. And now with this one, I did mention that I got off a row or a column, whichever way. It's up and down, so probably a column. But I'm glad that I caught it so that now I can look out for that as I continue to stitch because I'm not going to frog anything. So, this house is a mess. Then, also in April, I discovered Long Dog Samplers, and I started Crossword. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. And now Crossword has a bit of a history because I started it with some variegated DMC floss. I think I could take my glasses off now. I think I could see now. I don't know. We'll see, right? Okay, so I started it in April. And I was using some DMC variegated floss, which it turns out I didn't like. I didn't like the floss. I didn't like that I was stitching it with 2 strands of floss. And so I eventually decided, and I think I made that decision in October. I restarted Crossword, and this is where it is now. So now I'm stitching it on 18 count Ada with 1 strand of floss, and I absolutely love it. And as you'll see later on, I'm using the very same color palette in this long dog sampler as I'm using in pandemic, because I kind of wanted them to coordinate. Please excuse Mr. Ribbon Coffee.
Sorry.
So right now, guys, I have to tell you, I am in love with crosswork. And I think that you will agree that I am stitching on some of the most beautiful, beautiful charts. I'm in love with every single thing that I am stitching. I could not be happier. I could not be more pleased. I couldn't be more excited about my stitching. So then came May. And May was my very first Stitch Mania. The first time I ever participated. First time I even knew there was such a thing as Stitch Mania. And I think that when Stitch Mania began, the idea was to start at least 15 new starts in May. And of course, it has evolved over time. And so now you could basically stitch, start however many you want to start. And so it being my very first time participating in Stitch Mania and not really knowing what I was getting myself into, I chose to only start one. And the funny thing about that is, although I decided to only start one project, I was not able to start until very late in the month of May. So I think that was a good decision. And so what I chose was Feels Like Home by Fat Quarter Shop. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. It is so cute. It is so pretty. And I would absolutely love if I were able to finish this by spring and get it up on my wall. So, here it is. And what is this stitched on? This is stitched on 25 count Lugana. And this is my first time ever stitching on anything other than Ada. And the colorway is Cloud. Isn't this adorable? This is just adorable. So I'm stitching it on 25 count, 2/2. And I love it. I love it. There's no turning back. There's no turning back. Like, Lugana is my jam. Love me some Ada. Lugana is my jam. So, there's that. Feels Like Home. I really would love to get this completed and up on the wall. But, as I've said in the past, I don't consider myself, whatever you call it, I consider myself a process stitcher because I truly, truly enjoy the process of stitching. And so, hurrying to get a finish is just not what I'm about, like, at all. Like, I'll finish it eventually. I will. But I just really enjoy stitching on each project. So then came July. And I saw a chart. I'm sure it was online. Have no idea. No recollection of where I was, what I was looking at. And I saw a chart and it just blew me away. And I said, oh my gosh, this so reminds me of myself. And it is African Woman with Peonies too. And it so reminds me of myself because I love peonies. They are my favorite flower. So I showed this to Mr. Ribbon and told him how much I loved it and how much it reminded me of myself. And he simply handed me his card and said, go ahead and order it, get everything you need. What? So I am stitching this for him. So I need to grab the actual piece, so hang on for a second. Okay guys, sorry about that. I had forgotten to grab this piece before I started to record. So here is my progress on African Woman with Peonies 2. And I have to say it has been very interesting. It's a very interesting stitch. I'm enjoying it immensely. And it's my very first full coverage, my first attempt at full coverage. I took the time to do the gridding. This is on 14 count Aida. And I did have a little bit of frogging to do at a point. But now I have to tell you, I'm feeling so much more comfortable stitching on this piece. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with the fact that it's full coverage. And here's another little change I've made to my stitching mindset, if you will. I am a person who I don't like my thread to travel more than, let's say, 3 spaces. And so I discovered that that mindset is doing me no good at all on a full coverage piece. In fact, it was driving me nuts. So I've learned that on a full coverage piece, it's okay. It's okay to let your thread travel more than 3 spaces. In fact, it's very sanity saving for me. So that's what's working for me. And I am absolutely loving this piece. And so because of the way this came about, I'm stitching this piece for Mr. Ribbon. This is going to be his. And we joke a lot about how, you know, once I'm gone, it better not wind up in Goodwill. So, because it's his. Forever. Okay. I'm done. I promise I'm done. So then in July, Long Dog Samplers released Pandemic. And it was available for free for a short period of time. And I could not download it fast enough. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Pandemic. In fact, I was stitching on it just the other day. And honestly, guys, I did not want to put it down. I did not want to go to sleep. I did not want to go to bed. I did not want to put it away. Because I am obsessed. And here it is. Here's my progress. I love this piece so much. I cannot say that I have a favorite of all that I am stitching on. But if I did have a favorite, this one would surely be in contention. And so when I do my next Flosstube video, I'll tell you a little bit more about some changes that I've made with my stitching mindset, and the pandemic has something to do with that as well. And the fact that I just didn't want to put it down. I wasn't ready to stop. I just wasn't. So then the next thing was my birthday in August. And of course I had to do a birthday start, especially since I figured out that that's a thing. Of course I had to do a birthday start. And I was torn. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do. Where's my picture? Okay. But then I decided to go ahead and start Mistletoe Lane by Backwater Shop. And I mainly chose this one because I already had it completely kitted. I believe I won the floss for this chart from The Real Housewives of Cross Stitch. And so all I needed to do was download the chart and get started. So I did start that on my birthday in August. And I must say though, I don't think I've put another stitch in it since then. So that's my little meager start. But that's okay, because the only reason that I haven't stitched more on it is because it hasn't come up in rotation. And this is also stitched on Lugana. I do believe it's 25 count Lugana, and it's stitched 2/2. Love it. So cute. Love it. Then in October, Backwater Shop sent me Fright Night. And Fright Night is kind of what convinced me that, gee, I think I do want to be a Halloween stitcher. I never really had much desire to stitch for Halloween because I was a Christmas stitcher, okay? But I am now convinced that this, yeah. I've gotten a lot of more Halloween and fall charts since this. Excuse me. I love the bat. I decided I now love stitching bats and spiders. And so I have it in my cute Fright Night bag. That's also from Backwater Shop. And I am stitching this on Ada. And here it is. Here it is so far. And as you can see, I did get that spider in, and I've completed the bat. And so now I'm kind of trucking along on the moon. I'm sorry if you can hear noise from outside. We have the windows open. So this is like really cute. Of course, there's a lot of stitching in this moon, but I don't mind. I don't mind it at all. And I love the way this is turning out. And this was a, I think, a 5-part stitch along. Unfortunately, that's only how far I've gotten. But it's okay. It happens. It happens. Okay, so now also in October, I decided to start a new Christmas ornament, but I can't do anything simple, no matter how hard I try. You know, I just can't keep it simple. So I chose Christmas Alphabet. And here is the picture of it in the book. This is from the Better Homes and Gardens Across Stitch Christmas Timeless Treasures, which I do collect these books. I have, I think, another one on its way. And this is the picture of the alphabet. Christmas alphabet. I think it's really cute. But I decided that I was going to stitch each alphabet separately on, excuse Mr. Ribbon's phone, guys. And so I was going to stitch each one separately on perforated plastic. So I'm going to show you the A, which is one of my finished objects. And I think it turned out beautifully. And then I started B. Okay, but let me just tell you, I am so having second thoughts about the whole thing. I still do not want to stitch all of the ABCs on one banner or on one piece. I do want to stitch them separately, but I think I'm going to switch over to fabric so that I can make little pillow type ornaments for each one. And let me see if I can see the fabric that is called for. Oh, okay. I didn't realize it calls for 18 count white Aida. I may do that. I may do it on 18 count white Aida. I'm still in the thought process, and I think I'm just gonna deal with it and make a decision once it comes back up in rotation. But I'm pretty sure I'm not going to continue to stitch those on the perforated plastic. I need to make a change. And so the last WIP that I have that I'm carrying over is one that I think all of you guys really enjoy seeing, and I certainly enjoy stitching that. And it's the Better to See You With from the Cross Stitch Studio. It's a monster and I love it. And so I have not gotten very far on this project at all. And it was a restart because this is my progress so far. And I started on this 22 count Jobelin using 2 threads over 2. And it was just way too bulky and fuzzy for me. So I restarted using 1 strand over 1. Okay, I was stitching 2 over 1 and that didn't work. So I'm now stitching it 1 over 1 and I like it a lot better. I've made some really good progress and I am very anxious to continue on this and make some more progress. So hold on for just one moment, guys, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I am back. And that, guys, is going to wrap up my very first annual WIP parade. I hope that you really enjoyed looking at all of the pieces that I started in 2020 and hope to get some finishes in 2021. I have so many things that I want to talk to you guys about. So I will be putting together my very next Flosstube. It will, if it's not later this week, which I would love to do it later this week, guys, but it'll most likely be next week when I come back with my next Flosstube. I can't wait to share my new year, new starts with you guys. And so I really just hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did. So until next time, happy stitching.